Waiting for the ding. There we are. All right, welcome one and all to this special hackathon-sponsored Jet Talk. For those of you who are taking part in the hackathon, this is an opportunity to clear your mind for a moment of the hack you're working on and learn something new in the form of a talk here by the brilliant Noa Zehavi Raz, head of data in our Tel Aviv site. So in this session, you will learn how to know if you're making the right decisions on your product or project, how to know if you're measuring the right metrics to determine success, and the great and good Noah will take you through some methods and tricks and teach you how to make better, well-informed decisions based on real data. So without further ado, over to you, Noah.
Thanks, Steve. I'm now feeling like in the radio station. So hi. I prepared a mandatory jet slide. Nice to meet you. I'm Noa, I'm the head of data for the B2B pillar, what you probably know as corporate solutions. I located in Tel Aviv in our innovation center. I've been with Jet for almost a year and a half now, and my favorite takeaway is Indian, and it better be spicy. And here you can see a more official picture of me, my kid, and something that just made me laugh. But today we're going to talk about why do you need data and data people in your decision-making process. No, it's a very good question. Why do you need it at all, right? Because you should be trusted. We usually hear from people, and it doesn't matter actually if they are product managers, product owner. Sometimes they come from the business side of life, not from the product aspect. And they usually get decisions just because. They know the product, they're industry experts, they're like in touch with the customers daily. Why should they start digging into numbers? Numbers are boring. So there are many answers to this question, and we'll touch most of them through the 40 minutes we have together. But first and foremost, because you're working in a big organization and you're dealing with big products. So if your decision-making process would be more data-driven, it means that it would be more objective, it would be more transparent, and it means that it will enable you to deliver your products or your business value in more speedy and accurate manner. Because it's true, you can make a decision based on hunches, previous knowledge. Again, we'll touch all of it later on, but it won't be as objective, as accurate, or as transparent as it would be if you'll have the data to back you up and to actually keep you covered, which is also important. So first thing first, we need to, when you come to take a decision, you need to know what is the data maturity in the organization you're working for. Now, so when saying data maturity, I actually mean what drives your decision making in your organization. Now, usually, all of the above applies. So your decision could be based on what executives say you should do, right? You need to keep them happy. And what is the personal opinion that is strengthened by what you believe, what you know, what you've heard from the customers you've just visited. And sometimes you have a little bit of data. It mostly will be like marketing related data. So some market research, competitive analysis, UX research if you're lucky. You could also have a full set of data gathered from many sources that you can query. And you can have an insider read from full set of data gathered specifically to measure the progress that you want to make. Now, I want us to focus actually on the last two. Why? Because this is the main explanation of why you want, desire, and need to work with data people when it comes to decision making. Because usually what stakeholders ask us, and I see some analysts, I recognize some data people in the call, so they'll all smile and sigh. Usually, but what we've been asked is to give a full set of data gathered from many sources, or in different terms, just create me a dashboard, put all the data about X, Y, and Z. I will take it from there. Just create me the dash. But this is not what they need. What they really need is the insight derived from full set of data and so on. Or in other words, hi data people, this is my business question. This is my product question. I need to solve something. I need an answer. Let us have a meeting. And this definition, this distinction is extremely important because when you come to get a decision, when you come to make a decision, you need to understand that just having the data is actually nothing but a buzzword. Because if you don't know how to look at it, how to analyze it, how to slice and dice it, how to generate insights out of it, data is just, well, again, numbers. So we're better together. You are lucky enough to work for JET, and in JET there are many data teams that you can consult when you come to make a decision. And actually the process of decision making with data is very simple. It's very easy. So if you take home one slide from this entire talk, let it be this one. First, there is the strategy, right? So this is the most important part here. You need to decide what is the strategy of the product, of the business request, whatever. What do you want to achieve? And then we need to set objectives. So this is like a simple question: what does success look like? Then, when you have a strategy and you have a sort of an vision powered by objectives, it's about time to establish the metrics, which is what are you going to track, to measure? What will it teach you? How you're going to adjust given the results? And then, finally, to analyze. This is what our analysts are best of. They look at all the metrics and they know how to generate an actionable insights out of them. The text box I didn't put in this slide is, and then you need to act upon this decision, which is sometimes not an easy thing to do because, again, we all have our thoughts, feeling, hunches, ideas, beliefs, and data, sadly, sometimes tells us we're wrong. So we need to go through this whole process once again and iterate to better define the strategy, to better define the objectives, to relook at every metric, and again, to analyze and act. So that was the prologue. And now how you get a decision using all of this data. So first you need to form an hypothesis. It could be formulated, and there's like very common formula for that. So first there is the capability. So what is the capability we want to add? Could be a feature, could be sort of like business value, but could be even a data product, a dashboard. But what is the needed capability? And then what is the outcome? Why do we doing it? What we want to achieve? What will be the benefit? What's the reasoning? And then it should be measurable. How are we going to define success? And what are all the needed metrics? Looks familiar? Indeed, because you all come from product and tech and you are very familiar with user stories. So actually, it's kind of the same. We believe that this capability will result in a certain outcome, and we will know that we've succeeded when we'll see this measurable signal in production. So we see the numbers in the happy flow justifying what we just did. And of course, there is an example taken from your most favorite product, JetPay. Please let me reassure you, the JetPay product team does not stand behind this deck. The feature is not included in the 2022 roadmap, and it came strictly out of my head. So as a capability, let's assume that we want to enable user invitation by takeaway pay admins. That means that you don't need to go through all this registration process when you want to activate your allowance. You just need to click on a link. Very nice feature. Maybe we should add it to the roadmap. So this is the capability. The outcome would be that the admin user will have the ability to onboard non-admin users with appropriate user rights more easily. And the non-admin users would be able to skip registration, which is a bit of a pain, and then just access the allowance just by accepting a simple invitation. And then once we have the capability and the outcome, we can go for the measurable signal, right? So I just put some numbers here, but it could be that the average users per corporate is going high, or more than 10% increase in corporate registration, and shortening of the time length between the invitation sent and the acceptance, and so on and so on. So once you put it in the formula, it make it easier for actually for product people as well, but also for data people to prepare the correct, accurate data product that will help you drive the decision or get a decision. So when we have this formulated hypothesis that we were going to check, a lot is happening behind the scenes. So people actually tend to see it as we come with the request, and then we get a dashboard, or we get an analysis, or we get a model sometimes. But actually, it takes a much longer, because once the hypothesis is on, we need to take care of the data preparation, which is a nice short term for gathering, cleaning, modeling all the relevant data. Sometimes these processes demands some massive engineering efforts from our data engineers and from our warehouse modelers, and so on and so on. And then we do the data analysis. So it seems obvious, but we need to mention, having all the data in one place, even sorted, that's not enough. We need to read through it. We need to understand why it means. We need to add insights. We need to generate reports. We need to understand what would be the impact of each and every decision we might take. And then at the end, there's the storytelling phase, right? So it's not enough to know what's right, what's wrong. Data people need to be able to make the decision makers understand that this is a full story. It includes context, challenges, explanations, informed suggestions. So it's all kind of storytelling that we need to produce, wrap up, and give it back to stakeholders so they could get a decision that is now not just a decision, but that data-driven or data-based decision. Okay, I hope you're all convinced. So if you are, next question is what we should do now. So first, skill up. You don't need to be a data professional in order to be data literate. And let me promise you, data is not scary. So you need to know enough about data to ask the right question and, again, gather the right insights. It means that you should be familiar, even if not a data person, with the basic data structures and terms of your product. You don't need to know every limitation of each and every table, but at least know what are the names of the major, most important ones, for example. Know how to work with data people, how to speak their language. We'll get there in a minute, and know how to present data. Because when you need to present your decision either to your teammates, to, if you're a product manager, maybe to the developers you're working with, to your stakeholders, you need to present it backed up by data. So you better learn to use the right terms. You better learn how to present it. And you need to be able to prioritize this based on this data. So to be able to take the bold decisions, and again, sometimes the not that comfortable decisions, that tasks should be reattended, regroomed, and reprioritized based on what data just told you. Okay, so I promised that I'll tell you how to work with data people. First, you need to pet our horns. We all have horns, we're unicorns. Data people are not common developers, so they're not just another R&D team, but they are not far apart, not very different. So there is this joke saying that the data person is a better programmer than most statisticians, but a better statistician than most programmers. That is actually true. The main difference between classical programming, so between just the development team and data team, is that developers usually they design and then implement a very well-formed flows. If A happens, then B happens, then C happens, and let's put it in classes and in methods and whatever, in functions, if you are more of a functional kind of guy. For data, it's a bit of a different thing. It's if A, then probably B. Now, probably, this is the most important time here, because data people needs to research. When you got an opportunity, when you got a question, when you got a business problem, this is where we as data people start investigating. And what probably will happen is extremely important, as I cannot stress this enough. You might get you will always get an answer. It won't be necessarily the answer you want to get. It could be heartbreaking, devastating, but it's a research that needs to be done. It means that it needs to be prioritized, and it means that it needs to be taking into consideration when results start flowing in. Okay. So when you come to work with data people, you need to articulate a business problem. Hypotheses is fine, but hypotheses are usually very structured, and we need to get a much further context, because number one factor that will cause us to deliver you a very poor product that could lead you to some grave decision that can harm the business is usually that product people were not given enough context. So we cannot supply the right data product, we cannot collect the right data set, we won't analyze it correctly. My most favorite example of all is 10bis. So 10bis is a great product operating in Israel, only Israel, mostly for B2B users, but not only. We have B2C as well. It's a marketplace, just like Just Eat and Takeaway, but also incorporates all the abilities of JetPay and more. And one time, one stakeholder in a certain company called Just Eat Takeaway went to his business analyst and say, I really, really want to deep dive into what's going on in Israel. Can you please look at the order rates of 10bis and tell me how they're doing? Is this market doing well? So our analyst went along, equipped with this task, no explanation whatsoever, no context, no formal knowledge of this product. And he went to Tableau. This is what we do, right? We look for a dashboard. So he opened the Tableau and he managed to find a dashboard showing the order rates of 10 BIS orders. He was looking, he was reading the numbers, and he ran back screaming to his stakeholders, waving his hands and yelling, "We see a massive drop every Friday and Saturday. Massive, massive drop." Now, Friday, it's usually very solid day in Jet. How come 10 BIS is falling so badly? There's a problem. We need to do something. What was this analyst missing? Who will be the first to type in chat? 10 BIS analysts are not allowed to participate. Context, of course, but what is the context? Yeah, thank you, Sebastian. Again, in Israel, we don't work on Friday. And when 10 BIS is mostly a B2B product, we actually anticipate a drop in orders on Friday and on Saturdays, as we are not working. And in some of our, and for some of the corporates we're working with actually define it in the rules, so their employees cannot use 10 BIS during weekends. It's like a built-in rule. So actually, nothing is wrong with 10 BIS. It's a great product. It's doing amazingly great. But without context, this analyst won't be able to tell not what is the problem and not if there is even a slightest problem. Also, a very important thing to say is don't think about implementation. When you come to your, again, most favorite data team and ask for something, just tell us what you're dealing with. Tell us what the business question, tell us what is the need, tell us what is the product need, what do you want to explore, where do you want to get. Don't tell us, can you please create me a dashboard showing the allowance usage for JetPay users in the Netherlands? Because yeah, I can give you that, it will take me 5 minutes, but what would it tell you? Don't come to us and ask for a machine learning fancy forecasting model showing you what would be the GMV for Just Eat UK in the coming 4, 5, 12 months. Because maybe a fancy machine learning forecasting model is not what you need. Don't come with the solution at mind. Come with a question. We know how to take it from there. So you'll probably have to trust us to walk you through the road until we'll have a solution. And yeah, of course, the solution could be a dashboard with the allowance usage rate in Amsterdam, or it could be a very fancy machine learning model. We love machine learning. It's like the cherry over the cream over the cake, but it's not always the right solution. Okay, what else? I've made you a short list. What we'll need from you. First, tell us who are the users who are requesting this data product. Are we talking about senior management, data people, the end user, maybe embedded in the product? When I need to build a dashboard for another analytic team, I'll do it differently than if I'll need to do it for executive management. Product team has different needs than dev teams or business teams. So just like in product development, the user persona is very, very important for data projects and products just as much. Make sure, again, you're giving us the full context. Any missing detail will lead to, incorrect analysis. Biased model. We love biased models. They can be very, very harmful. and be ready for a conversation. We'll probably come back to you with many, many, many questions. Most of them usually would be about definitions. So you can come and say that the business problem is Scuba is taking is costing us too much. We want to see if we can move to own delivery. Fine. Then we need to see if we have enough coverage. So we need to see if we have enough active couriers, for example. So what is an active courier? An courier that was out of work for a month, is he active? And a week? And if he's doing just one delivery per day, is he active? So we'll come back to you with many, many, many questions. And then acknowledge that it will take some time. Some data projects are very, very quick and dirty. They're fast. We can create a dashboard in minutes, really, we can. We can query very, very fast. And if Redshift and BigQuery are feeling well in this particular morning, it won't take that long. But sometimes we need to bring the data, we need to clean the data, we need to look into the data, we need to research, we need to understand what you are actually asking from us. We need to make sure that you and us are on the same page. And then we need to go to implement. Implementation sometimes will take half an hour, sometimes will take many, many days. When it comes to data science and machine learning models, implementation might take months, just like any other big feature that you're working on. So please keep in mind that it's not that you'll go into your favorite, again, data team desk, bang the table and say, okay, now you tell me X, Y, and Z. If it's a very common metric, we'll maybe be able to show it to you in a minute. But if it takes more than that, if it's like a real pressing business question that needs to be analyzed and solved using data, it will take time. And also, you need to avoid some stuff. So you came so far, you probably know everything by heart, but again, let's go through it. Avoid over-reliance on past experience. It actually kills businesses. So because if you, yeah, well, a bit handy, but if you're looking behind you, so you're missing what is in front, right? So if you based only of what you previously knew, you will be blind spotted. So it's actually very like pressing point, or it's not an easy thing to do, especially, by the way, when it comes to managerial stakeholders, because we usually rehire people based on the past experience, right? We hire people because they were brilliant data people in the previous position. They were brilliant product managers. They were brilliant business leaders. So we hired them. But we did not hire them from ourselves. We are different. And market might change, environments might change, COVID, war, everything might happen, inflation. So you cannot rely only on past experience. You must rely on accuracy or on data. Don't try to cook the data. So again, portion of the stakeholders. So relying on your past experience or past knowledge, that's actually natural. This is what we all do. Like this would be our first go-to, because this is what we know. And but at some extent, people trying to tweak the analysis so it will show them what they wanted to see. Now, it's possible, and if you Google it, there are many use cases of data being mispresented or misinterpreted just to strengthening a case, to support a case. It's it's a very severe thing to do. In some countries, it's illegal. In most of the companies I worked for, if they'll catch you doing that, they'll have you fired. Don't cook the data. Even if it makes you sad to see what the real results are. And the cognitive biases. So it's the tendency to make a decision based off either limited information or a lessons from past experience that might not be relevant for the current situation. Now, there are many, many cognitive biases. They could be cultural driven, gender driven, economy driven. There's the group pressure, right? You're sitting in a room and everybody's thinking that the right decision would be to kill that feature. But actually, data shows you that this feature brings us lots and lots of GMV. Why killing it? But group pressure, if they're all saying we need to kill it, we maybe need to kill it. No, that's a bias. So be well aware. By the way, being aware to the fact that you're biased is like the number one thing. So as long as you're keeping it in mind and look at the data or the results that you're getting more open-minded, then your decision making would be more accurate and will derive more value to the business, to the product. And I put the heart on deliver because this is what data people do. And we actually have 8 minutes for questions, so feel free. Yes, Freddie.
I'm just kind of wondering, this is probably the worst question to ask, but if you don't have solid data, you don't have good numbers, all of these, what is a close second place, would you say?
So it's actually a very good question, especially if you are planning, like if you're working on a new product, right? So you have no previous data. You can use data that is not originated from your specific product, so market research and data. So when we start working on takeaway pay, back then we looked at 10bis, right? Because they act quite of the same. So you look for similar data. Sometimes you need to pay for it. Sometimes you come from external data source. And sometimes you have no data at all. You have just your business understanding and your idea at mind. Then what you need to do is go through the product life cycle. So actually you have this idea, you build the MVP, and then you start collecting data, measure, and iterate. But you need to start from somewhere.
Yeah, so just measure anything you can that's almost like it.
Yeah, and sometimes you can't. You're starting a startup. There is no data around. You are the first. You're the first one thinking of it, ever. Build something small, test your value, measure, iterate. It's the only thing you can do.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, the MVP cycle.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
More questions? And more. Yes.
Hi, this is a newbie question. This is my week two. So what I wanted to know was really, are there any data sources for like self-service dashboards and stuff like that for common metrics orders across the company that I could, other executives and other people could use leadership?
Yes, of course there are. So in all the company metrics are being modeled in tableaus, and you can see everything there according to your specific permissions. And it goes from the most high level to the its and bits of each and every product.
Thank you.
Sure. Yes, Sophia.
Thank you very much for the presentation. I found it really valuable, not only for the hackathon, but in general. I was wondering if we can have also access to the slides so that we can refer back even after the meeting.
Yeah. I'll share it with Steve or any other of the hackathon team, and they can share it.
The recording will also be made available as well later on if anyone wants to watch it again.
Yeah, so I think if there are no further questions, we can wrap it up. And if you have a future question, you can always Slack me. I'm usually nice and answer. And I hope you enjoy data and enjoy the rest of the hackathon.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Noah. Enormously appreciated. And thanks to everyone who attended this session as well. Hopefully you found that as worthwhile and as insightful as I did. Enjoy the rest of your day. If you've been inspired by this and you want to give your own JET talk, there is a Slack channel for that called interest-jet talks, or you can message me directly as well. I can help you get sorted. Otherwise, take care of yourselves. See you all soon.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.